Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered with Nikki Dawson. I have been having some technical issues. This is the third time I'm sitting down to do this. I would usually record my podcast in two parts. So, recorded the first part of this podcast twice and it hasn't worked. So, I just tested it again, reset my computer, everything. So usually like switching things on and off helps. So fingers crossed, this is the last time I'm doing it. But pretty much I just did a little recap of my past couple of weeks. So I didn't get too far. So yeah, I have had a busy couple of weeks. Things have been changing in the house and I have been doing a lot of organising, reshuffling of the house. So I feel like I'm always doing things like that. I just honestly cannot keep still. I'm sure that you've all noticed that I literally am like hyperactive all the time. But in the past couple of weeks, one of my good friends has moved in with us. So as you guys know, my husband Shane is FIFO, so he's only here 50% of the time. So I get very lonely when he's away and we need to have people around. So I have a couple of housemates. So previously I had two girls, Tani and Hannah. Hannah has stayed. Tani decided to get her own place recently, so it's closer to work and she's got a bit more space. And my friend Alice has moved in. So we have spent time doing things to the house, setting up her room, styling her room, and doing a bit of organising. I spoke either on the last podcast or the one before that I had like cleared out my wardrobe. I was sorting things out and I needed to sort through all of the stuff that I was getting rid of. So it ended up in this room and it was all over this chair. There was boxes everywhere. And every time I walked into this room, I felt like I didn't want to be in here because it was so cluttered, so unorganized, and I don't like being in spaces like that. I'm sure you've all noticed that I am a very clean person. I am kind of type A with organization and cleanliness. So I don't like being in spaces that are unorganized, so that has probably impacted me not coming on the podcast in the past couple of weeks as well, because every time I come into this room, I'm like, no, I cannot deal with that. So I finally cleaned it on the weekend, did organising. I put some stuff on Marketplace. I've sold one thing out of like 30 items that I posted on Marketplace. I feel like it's so hit and miss. Maybe I should use Depop. Depop seems to be a good one as well. I think I talked in the last podcast as well about shopping and that I was going to be a bit more mindful about my shopping, and I've made a few purchases recently. So I bought these Country Road jeans, which I'm obsessed with. They had some really good sales at David Jones, so had to make the most of that. And then also my new shoes as well, these Adidas Specials. They're like a light brownie colour. So I feel like they are going to go with everything. All of these things are an investment. I have a couple of pairs of Adidas Sambas, which I've had for a few years now. And I think like these kind of shoes, they come in and out of style maybe every few years. But like there were Sambas like back in the day. And now all of a sudden they're like so popular again. So maybe I'll keep them for another 20 years. Who knows? So those things are sort of investments. But otherwise, I'm trying to be a bit more mindful of my spending. And so my friend Alice and I have been doing dinners together. Usually I would go to Woolies and Coles a bit too often, and all of those little spends that you do throughout the week definitely add up, because you never go to the grocery shop and buy just one thing or just the thing that you need. You always end up looking at other things and making other purchases. So I think in that way I definitely have been a little bit better. Also, my husband and I have been talking a lot more recently about something very exciting that we are going to commit to very soon. So at the end of last year, our little cat, Bobby, he passed away. He was 17 years old, and I had him since I was 18. So he's been with me for pretty much all of my adult life, and I met Shane 7.5 years ago. So he was in Shane's life for that long as well. So when it came time to saying goodbye, it was a big thing, and I didn't process it very well, because even though he was old and he did have end-stage renal disease, his passing was definitely quite sudden, and we did have to make that decision quite quickly because he was so unwell. So kind of coming past that, looking at having another pet in our lives has been a difficult decision, because they are a lot of responsibility. It is a huge commitment as well. And we really want a cat that does fit into sort of our lives, and we like having snuggly animals. Like, we wouldn't have a cat that was outdoors and just wandering on the streets. We would rather have one that is cuddling with us on the couch and following us around the house. That is what Bobby was like, and we are definitely not looking to replace him. That would never happen, because he was like our child. We really do want a cat that is going to fit in with, I guess, our expectations of like a pet. We definitely want one that is snuggling with us all the time. So yeah, we have been looking at a couple of particular breeds. The first one that we were looking at was a Sphinx, and doing a bit more research into the breed, they are definitely very snuggly. They're very needy, clingy, which I love, but also because they're a hairless cat, they often have issues with like their ears and their skin as well. They are definitely a breed that is predisposed to those issues. The other breed that we've been looking at is British Shorthairs. We have seen a lot recently on Instagram and noticing what their personalities are like. They are very cuddly. They are maybe not as clingy as what a Sphinx would be, but they look like they are just beautiful cats as well. And I was previously a vet nurse, and I always did like the little British Shorthairs. They're very, very sweet cats. So we have looked at quite a few breeders. There are some here in Perth, but a lot of the breeders are also over east, and there are a couple that we like the look of. And they generally, how the process works is you go onto a wait list, you put in your preferences. So we would prefer to have a little boy. Cat Bobby was a boy as well. The colouring, I guess the most popular colour is blue. And then there is lilac, there's chocolate, there's gingers, but we're sort of like leaning more towards a chocolate colour. This process could take quite some time. And so you put in your preferences and basically wait for a little kitten to come up that is to your preferences. So it might take 6 months, it might take a year, depending on the wait list, depending on how many litters they have. Yeah. So we will see. We'll see. We are not in any rush, because it has only been about 7 months since we lost Bobby. So I kind of felt like it was too soon, but it is a bit quieter around the house, and it's just so nice having a pet here. And I definitely like little snuggles at night time. So yeah, I would definitely love to have that in due time. So yeah, I will keep you updated on that as well. We haven't put our name down on a wait list yet, but I think probably in the next like month or so that will happen. So once we decide on a breeder, that is. So yeah, exciting. What else has been going on? I took last week off the gym. So last Monday, I went to the gym. I had a leg session on. I really didn't feel like going to the gym. So Monday is my day off, and I usually would still get up, go to the gym early, get it done. But that day I went in late. I really didn't want to go. I was sore. My lower back was sore. I just was not in the mood. And I did it anyway, and I felt okay. Usually I would feel better after I go to the gym. I'm like, no, just push through. But I then went for a run on Tuesday night, and I felt horrible afterwards. I was in a lot of pain, and I just was in a bit of a mood because I was feeling uncomfortable. I have not felt like this since I first initially had my sort of like lower back / hip injury. I still don't know exactly what it is, but I still am in a bit of discomfort on a daily basis. But this just, no, it was different, and it was making me very moody. I was not happy. So anyways, took the week off the gym. I would say I generally would push through when I'm in discomfort, because I know that I do feel better after I go to the gym. And I did return back to the gym this week. So I did a leg session yesterday, and Monday I did an upper body session. Still not feeling 100%. We are getting back there, but I am not doing probably the best for myself. I know that I should be stretching a little bit more. I know that I should be rolling out the areas that are really tight, like especially my glute on my left side. I haven't been doing that as much, and it is quite sore. So I will be a bit better. Anyways, what did I want to talk about? Something that everybody's been talking about for quite some time. I am quite late to the party here, but every second person is starting on peptides, and I do often get asked about peptides and what my thoughts are. And first and foremost, I would like to say that yes, there has been some research and evidence into particular peptides for recovery of particular injuries, and also one particular peptide that a lot of people are taking that is assisting with weight management. Firstly, these peptides are not able to be purchased through a pharmacy via a script that is written by a practitioner, a general practitioner. These peptides are generally able to be purchased online, so it is not under the guidance of a medical professional. And in terms of safety, we don't know what else is in these solutions that people are injecting into their bodies. So these peptides have to be injected subcutaneously. Like I said, can be purchased online. This is unregulated, so you can potentially be purchasing something that is labelled as, say it's Reta. Well, the actual drug name is retatrutide. So you can be purchasing this and injecting yourself, but what else is in that solution that you are injecting into your body? You could not pay me enough to draw up a solution and inject it into my body. I wouldn't take something that is not a regulated substance. So people are like, I'm sure back in the day you've taken things that you don't know what they are. But genuinely, I have not. At the end of the day, I do say to people, it is your body. Do what you would like, but you need to be informed about the potential risks. And I think a lot of people don't actually know what the mechanisms are behind a lot of these peptides. So, say for example, the retatrutide. So, Reta, a lot of people are using it for weight loss, and the mechanism behind this peptide is much like the GLP-1s and the GIPs, better known as Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro. So what people don't know generally about Reta is that it actually contains 3 hormones or peptides. Is that it's a GLP-1 agonist, it is also GIP and a glucagon agonist as well. So all of these 3 combined can optimize metabolic function, leading to weight loss. There is a lot of stigma around the other medications like Ozempic and Mounjaro. When we look at Reta, it has additional compounds in it. So it is able to optimize weight loss more so than those other drugs. Yet there is so much stigma around those ones compared to Reta. Why is that? It's because people are saying that's a peptide. This is a drug that is prescribed by a medical doctor and it is purchased from a pharmacy. It is a prescription drug and it is managed by a medical professional. So when you look at it that way, why is there so much stigma around something that is more regulated, more well controlled? You definitely know what is in that solution that you're injecting into your body. Whereas with Reta, you don't know what's in there. The mechanisms behind the compounds in Reta are going to optimize your weight loss more so than these other ones. But it's like people say being on these drugs, it's like cheating. You don't have as much willpower, but you still do need to put in the work in terms of diet quality, physical activity, managing your dietary intake. But there's not so much of a stigma around Reta. Don't ask me why. No, do ask me why. The reason why Reta is more accepted is because there is so much about it on social media and that it's labelled differently to pharmaceutical drugs. And at the end of the day, it's like people aren't guided by a medical professional. They're guided by their own choice to do that. And they can just buy it online. They can buy it online whenever they want. They can inject it into their body. They can start, they can stop whenever they would like. But when they have to go to their GP, it has to be scripted. They have to be guided by them. It feels like it's more of a controlled process, which it definitely should be. The use of these drugs should not be taken lightly. If you are taking these drugs and it is impacting your appetite, you're not eating as much, you're optimizing your body's ability to break down compounds in the body and utilize them more efficiently, you potentially are at risk of becoming malnourished. And I guess longer term, we are going to see the effects of that. You are not going to see that in the short term. So being aware of conditions that you may develop, like osteoporosis in the future, if you are not getting enough calcium and you are deficient in that. Also, if you're not getting in enough iron, we need to make sure that we are getting enough in our diet. But if you generally are not hungry, you're not eating enough overall, you're not likely to be meeting your needs. So it is very important to make sure that you are guided by somebody. It is not something that I recommend to people who are already a healthy weight. And that generally is the demographic that is using these peptides. But people are opting to use them because maybe they've seen it on social media, an influencer has been using it and they've seen great results, so they would like to try it for themselves. But it may not be the best approach to take. Overall, I would say these substances, they are not controlled, they're not regulated. So if it is something that you would like to go down the path of, I would suggest talking to your doctor and taking a safer approach. You may not meet the criteria. Like I said, often it is people that are within a healthy weight range that are wanting to take these compounds to assist with weight loss, but your doctor will know best and they may say, that is not appropriate for you. You are putting yourself at risk of XYZ. And also, they will look at your medical background and it may not be appropriate for you to take these drugs as well. Make sure that you are making an informed decision. Despite there being a lot of studies showing that these drugs are beneficial, it is still not a regulated drug that you can buy under a script. So until it gets to a point where it is approved and you can buy it safely, I think a lot of people just don't really know what it is. And it is a bit scary. People are very influenced by others on social media, and often what is driving it is people's appearances, them talking about the benefits, and maybe they're not informed themselves. I would say a lot of them wouldn't be. Now, a lot of things are easily accessible online, and it is a bit scary when you do think about it, but make an informed decision. Talk to your doctor. That's all I have to say. But yeah, anyway, I hope everybody found this to be interesting. Let me know what you think about this episode. And yeah, hopefully I'll be in your ears again very soon. Bye, guys.